स्वः विदुरवरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवद्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ॐ त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव। ओम गुरुदेव भगवान शिव शंकर भोलेनाथ कैलाशपति महाराज की जय। भगवान व्यास जी महाराज की जय। शंकराचार्य भगवान की जय। स्वामी चिन्मयानंद भगवान की जय। स्वामी दयानंद भगवान की जय। स्वामी प्रबुद्धानंद भगवान की जय। स्वामी शुद्धानंद भगवान की जय। साध्वी आनंद ज्योति जी की जय। माता पिता की जय। सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। सभी गुरु देवताओं की जय। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारी हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा। श्रीमद् भगवद गीता chapter 6 and verse number 21 we have to see. Yesterday we completed verse number 20 also, where Bhagavan says the mind which is mastered by dhyana yoga abides in oneself. When the mind is mastered by practice of meditation, abides in Atma, abides, follows, remains in Atma. And when seeing oneself by oneself alone, one rejoices in oneself. The self, the oneself, seeing oneself by oneself remains peaceful, happy in oneself. The sukha is that yourself. In verse number 21, Bhagavan says, Sukhamatminikam yatvidvigrahamiti veti yatra na chaivayam sthita shralati tatvatah. Sukham antayatikam yatad buddhi grahayam ati indriyam veti yatra na chaivayam sthitas chalati tatvaha. Yat tat, that which atyantikam, absolute, buddhi grahayam, recognized by the intellect, ati indriyam, beyond the sense perception, sukham, happiness. Yatra, yatra, when. Ayam veti, one recognizes. Cha, and. Sthitah, being rooted therein. Tattvataha, from the truth of oneself. Na iva chalati, one never moves away. And when one recognizes this absolute happiness, which is known by the intellect, which is beyond sense perception, and when being rooted therein, one never moves away from the truth of oneself. The vritti, thought, by which one recognizes an object and the object of vritti are identical. That is, in order to recognize the object, the vritti must necessarily have the object in itself. Vritti means thought. Thought must have that object. The mind in which the thought is, that thought must have that object. To recognize. If I have to recognize a pot, a ghata, pot ghada, the vritti, thought, must assume the very form of the pot. The thought must have that ghada in the mind, ghada in there, in the thought. Therefore, the vritti is called ghata vritti, the pot thought. By the ghata vritti alone, I recognize the object ghata. By the thought, by the pot thought, I recognize the pot. The pot itself is recognized only by the pot thought. For recognition of Atma also, there must be a vritti. To recognize Atma, there must be a vritti. This vritti is created by Shastra and it destroys the self-ignorance. It is created by Shastra and it destroys the self-ignorance, and the vritti is brought back by the contemplator in Nididhyasana. First, a vritti is brought in the thought about the Atma, and after self-recognition, this thought is brought back by the thinker in Nididhyasana, back, that there is no Atma thought also. First a thought is born about the Atma, then Atma is recognized, discovered, the ignorance about the Atma is gone, and then the thought is also gone. In the recognition of Swarupa of the self, the vritti assumes the very Swarupa of Atma without objectifying it. This is not similar to knowing an object such as the pot. In recognition of Swarupa of the Atma, there is only one operation involved, whereas in objectification of a pot, there are two operations. One operation is the vritti assuming the form of the pot, and second is operation is the recognizing of that vritti, thereby recognizing the pot. One is the objectification of the object by the vritti, and the other is the recognition of the vritti. Vritti means thought, recognition of the thought. The objectifying vritti is recognized by another vritti, which is the drashta, the seer. I become the seer, the knower of the pot. Therefore, this I thought, aham vritti, assuming the status of knower, recognize the object through a vritti, the ghata vritti, the pot thought, and says, this is the pot, I am ghataha. Understood? Try. Any piece of knowledge where there is this peculiar connection, Atma Anatma Sambandha, between the self, the knower, and the object that is objectified by that knower, take place by these two operations. This is the object is objectified. This is here the object is objectified by the vritti, and you cognize the vritti, which is why you can say this is a pot. However, you can say this is Atma. Who is there to say it? You are the one who has to say it. If it were to be so, then the self, Atma, would become an object of the self who is objectifying it. Therefore, it would become Anatma, not Atma, just like any other object of your knowledge. Naturally, when Krishna said, seeing Atma in the last verse, some differences and definitely implied. The difference is that in number of operations involved, seeing Atma implies only one operation. There is no second operation at all, as there is when one sees an object, only the first operation is here. The vritti that objectifies the Atma, that assumes the very form of Atma. If I say Atma is pure consciousness, Keval Chaitanya, Shuddha Chaitanya, and the recognition of this fact take place, the recognition implies that the vritti assumes the very form of consciousness, and there is no other object involved. That particular form destroys the ignorance with reference to the Swarupa of the Atma and then disappears. This is the only operation that takes place, meaning that there is no second operation in form of recognition. This is Atma as there is in the cognition of other objects. The one operation that takes place is only with the reference to one's confusion about oneself, the self-ignorance that was there. That ignorance is destroyed by the vritti. This is what happens in self-knowledge. In knowing the self, more of which we shall see later, what does a wise person have to rejoice over? Why he has to rejoice? What does the wise person have to rejoice? Generally, a person rejoices only when he or she has something to rejoice over other than knowing Atma. Some revealing situation is usually there for any rejoicing to take place. But what is there for the person being discussed in the verse to rejoice over? It is the recognition of the absolute happiness. That is one's own nature, a recognition by intellect that is beyond sense perception. Sukha atayanikam yatad buddhi grahayam atindriyam. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji explains in his commentary that atayantika sukha is happiness which is absolute, endless. Atayantika, which is absolute, a happiness that is the nature of oneself. Swarupa sukha. This means that there is nothing to do with the vritti. There is no thought. The Swarupa itself is the Sukha. The Swarup itself is the Sukha. And then there is no vritti of it. There is no thought of Sukha other than yourself. There are not two things, one me and then a Sukha. No. It is a particular vritti, no doubt, but it is not born out of a particular condition external to oneself. The word Atmanam mentioned in the previous verse is converted here into Atayantika Sukha. Atayantika Sukha. The Atma itself is Sukha. Seeing the self is recognizing the self as Sukha Swarupa. One whose nature is absolute happiness. Atayantika Sukha. And this recognition takes place in the intellect, in the buddhi alone. The place is buddhi. At the same time, this Sukha is beyond sense perception. At indriya. Atyantika Sukha or Atma Sukha is something quite different from the pleasure you pick up because of sense objects or situations. Vishaya Sukha. Both Atma Sukha and Vishaya Sukha are recognized by Buddhi. There is no nasal Sukha or other Sukha that is not recognized by the Buddhi. A Sukha born out of hearing something pleasant or a music or a bhajan, for example, is always inside, not outside. There is also Sukha born of having solved a problem or a riddle of yourself, for yourself. The kind of happiness that causes you to do, say, Eureka, born of some recognition or a piece of knowledge. This is called Vidya Sukha. There is clarity. There is a clarity there, which, to use the language of the Gita, increase your sattva disposition. The heightened sattva makes the mind more composed, gives rise to the shanta antakarana. Shanta antakarana. Because knowledge and sattva go together, there is sukha. So whenever you pick up a piece of knowledge, no matter how simple or complex, there is some sukha, which is called vidya sukha. But the sukha that one picks up by the piece of knowledge is still relative sukha. It is not complete sukha, absolute sukha. Because it is subject to change. A challenge is met successfully, sukha is discovered, and then it is gone. If sukha was the result of having unraveled a few knots in a tangled ball of wool, you pick up the yarn again and begin unraveling more to gain some more sukha. This is called Vishaya Sukha, a sukha born of fulfilling a desire for a particular object. And the experience thereof. An object of desire brings about sukha in different degrees. Just the sight, it brings about certain sukha, and owing it, for experiencing it, brings about some more sukha. So there are level of degrees of Vishaya Sukha. Everyone has this kind of sukha, even a cat or a dog, whereas Vidya Sukha is only for human beings. Vidya Sukha includes any accomplishment, and Vishaya Sukha implies situational gains in terms of desires fulfilled. There is also Sukha born of yoga. which includes prayer and meditation, pranayam, etc., bhajans, pranayams, rituals, you gain some kind of sukha in there also. They can also bring about some sukha. There are three kinds of sukha: Vishaya sukha, Vidya sukha, and Yoga sukha. Vidya sukha and Vishaya sukha are experienced by everyone, whereas Yoga sukha is experienced by a disciplined person, a karma yogi, a prayerful person, a devotee. Because of person's maturity, there is some sukha in the seat of meditation, discipline, health, and so on. Also brings about sukha, a satisfaction, all of which is implied by yoga sukha. Now there is the fourth sukha. The fourth sukha is called Turiya sukha. Does not depend on any gain, accomplishment, or anything. It is not born out of any particular piece of knowledge that you discover, nor any object that you gain. It is just the recognition of yourself alone, because of which there is sukha. When you will be truly recognizing yourself, there will be sukha. There will be nothing else. There has to be sukha. This sukha is sukha mentioned by Krishna in this verse. Atayantika sukha, absolute sukha. This is also recognized by intellect, buddhi grahaya, and is beyond sense perception. Ati indriya. It is not felt by sense perception. Other sukhas you may feel through sense perception, but the absolute sukha, atayantika sukha, is not felt by sense perception. It is. The sukha is. There is nothing else. Only sukha is. Not born out of any given object, situation, or vidya, or knowledge, or anything. It is sukha in recognizing yourself. And when you recognize yourself, then there is sukha. And that sukha is yourself. The oneself alone is sukha. This is where people sometimes commit mistake. Ati indriya sukha means that sukha is not due to sense perception. At the same time, very sukha is buddhi graha, recognized by the intellect. Vishay sukha, vidya sukha, and yoga sukha are also buddhi graha, but not ati indriya, whereas this absolute sukha is buddhi graha and also ati indriya, meaning that it is not due to any external situation or internal condition. Yoga sukha also is not born of an external situation, but it is born out of internal situation, while Vishaya sukha is born out of external situations. But the sukha that Krishna is talking about here is not born out of anything, either in you or out of you. When you do punya, when you do dhanam, you gain certain sukha. You feel happy. But this sukha is also relative. It it is due to some internal situation you do dhanam and feel sukha. But the sukha which is discussed in this verse is sukha not born out of anything. It is recognizing the self as sukha. People naturally wants to know what this sukha is born of. How can it be brought into being? The concept of sukha being born is due to ignorance. It is Sansari's approach, an approach of the ignorant and non-discriminating person. Therefore, we have to be very careful. Absolute sukha is buddhi graya and at the same time ata indriya, which means it has nothing to do with the sense perception or anything else. It is oneself. The sukha absolute sukha is also buddhi graya, buddhi, felt in buddhi, but it is not born out of anything. When the person, the meditator, the seeker comes to recognize the Atma Swarupa, yatra vitti, what happens? He or she does not slip away from the truth of Atma as absolute happiness. Atayantikam sukham tat tatvatah na chalati. Here tattva means the swarupa, the essential nature of thing, as expressed by the suffix ness. There is no appropriate word in English for swarupa. That is why it is said English is an incomplete language. We are not going to argue on any language here. Language is to convey my thoughts. Here Swamiji has conveyed his thoughts in form of this book in English. Let it be. Adi Shankaracharya expressed his thought in Sanskrit, which we don't even know. So language is just a means of expression and means of grasping. If I am able to grasp, it is okay. If I am able to understand, it is okay. The language has done its job. The language is not the jnanam. What I know, what I gain through the language is jnana. So there is no way to argue on the correctness of the language. Here tattva is the truth, the swarupa of the Atma, which is atayantika sukha swarupa, which is free from any form of limitation, purna swarupa. From this the person never moves away, na iva chalati. The difference between recognition and experience. This is something very important. Recognition. You recognize, yes, and then you experience. There is a difference. Let's understand. This recognition marks the difference between ordinary yoga and Ashtanga yoga. And what we are talking about here, you must know this well and not confuse this recognition with the samadhi of Ashtanga yoga. Ashtanga yoga is a discipline which has its own place in preparing the mind for knowledge to take place. For this reason, you should not think of it as useless or anything. Ashtanga yoga is a great discipline, but it is not understood as such there can naturally be confusion between it and the knowledge of oneself, Atma Jnana, which is the ultimate end, the freedom that everyone seeks. The samadhi that Yoga talks about is in terms of experience. In fact, if as a sansari you have to accomplish anything in this world, that is the world of sansara, samadhi is the greatest accomplishment experimentally. In this sense, Ashtanga Yoga has the last word in terms of nirvikalpa samadhi, a state of absorption, wherein there is no second thing at all. The knower, known, and the instrument of knowledge, all three of them coalesce into one experience lasting for a length of time. Although it does not take away the sansara, it is definitely the last word in sansara. Nirvikalpa samadhi is the opposition of deep sleep. In deep sleep there is nirvikalpa, all right, meaning that the known knowledge division is not there. But in nirvikalpa samadhi, the mind is awake. Unlike in deep sleep, where the mind is sleeping. In both cases, there is a jnana. The difference being that when the mind is asleep, there is no vritti. Whereas in nirvikalpa samadhi, the mind is awake, meaning there is vritti. Therefore, the greatest thing you can have in life is nirvikalpa samadhi, which is why it is always greatest hooker. It baits people because it is the last thing that you can think of accomplishing in sansara, in your life, here in this world. Experiencing always has an end. But nirvikalpa samadhi has an end. It's something you come out of. All that is needed is for someone to drop something in front of you or to start a vacuum cleaner in the next house. As soon as you become aware of the sound, you are not only out of the nirvikalpa samadhi, you may be into anger as well. Why? Why this is? Because nirvikalpa samadhi is something that does not last forever. You will come out of it in time. And once you are out of it, it becomes a past experience that you then talk to others about. Swamiji, yesterday I had the most wonderful thing happen to me. Even the language used to describe the experience in different. But as soon as the thoughts come, or someone begins hammering, or a child begins to cry, or a bug creeps up your leg, real or imagined, it is gone. You have come out of nirvikalpa samadhi. There are those who will tell you that once you experience nirvikalpa samadhi and you come out of that experience, the world will be different. They also say that you experience Atma in a nirvikalpa samadhi. How can this be? All that happened was that the known knowledge difference coincidence. All difference disappeared, a desirable experience, no doubt. It is buddhi, grahaya, recognized by the intellect, and it is also ati indriya, beyond sense perception. But how has this experience changed the state of your vision? In fact, you may become very sad. Before you knew Atma, you were only sad if you lost money, power, and some hair, or a relationship. Now, having known that Atma, you have a new item which can be lost, can be a cause for sadness. Yourself. Previously you lost things, but retained yourself. But now you have experienced a much greater loss of yourself. So practitioner of samadhi must have some sadness if samadhi does not come. The sadness, even when it comes, because it does not last. Even if it lasts for some time, there is sadness because it ends. For that period of time, the division between knower, known and knowledge is usually there, went away. Time itself went away. For half an hour you were free from it, free from time, which means you were timeless, eternal. And after half an hour you become what? Non-eternal. Even if you have samadhi for 2 days, you become non-eternal. In this way, it is no different than being in coma for 2 days and then coming out of it. While in the coma, there was no division whatsoever, and the person who did not also know what was happening. Therefore, the length of time that you were into Nirvikal Samadhi has no meaning. Discipline implies certain mastery of the mind. As a discipline, however, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is great, because when you gather such an experience, it indicates that you have some mastery. Otherwise, you would not have been able to have experience of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Because certain mastery is involved, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is considered to be the highest of experience that you can gain. It is like a prize, the end for those who want to gain experience. To say that it indicates a sattvika vritti on your part is fine. But to say that after you come out of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you will see the world entirely different is not correct. Because how you see world depends purely on your vision of reality. Having experienced Nirvikal Samadhi, you have to interpret that experience. And to interpret the experience, you must have a pramana, a means of knowledge. Again we come back to pramana, because you do not interpret an experience in any other way than by what you know. All interpretation depend entirely upon your knowledge, which is dependent on the pramana available to you. The pramanas that you have, perception, inference and so on, operate by maintaining a duality of karta, the doer, karma, the object of doing, kriya, the act of doing, karana, the instrument of doing, etc. All these are collectively called as karakas. Retaining the duality alone, your pramanas, the various means of knowledge operates. Perception, pratyaksha and inference, anumana, do not swallow the karakas. Only agama, the teaching, swallows them. It says that you are not the knower, pramata. You are the very essence of the knower, knowledge, and the object of knowledge. All three of them being one and the same. In this way, agam resolves the division, which is exactly what this verse is saying. Thought is you. Knowing Atma, not moving from the truth of Atma, there is no knower known knowledge division for the person. Nor is there any question about when you are going to get out of yourself, because both thought and the object of the thought are you, Atma. There is no way of getting out of yourself, because with thought you are, and without thought you are. Whether you are with the world or without the world, it is you all the time. Because the statement Tattvataha na chalati. In this verse, understudy implies jnana, knowledge. The word yoga is not to be taken in its usual sense. It is more viyoga than yoga, as Krishna explains in little later. Previously, due to ignorance, there was association, sama yoga, with dukkha, sorrow, taking it to be oneself, which was the problem. Yoga means joining, association, and viyoga means disassociation from the association. Previously, the person was in association with the body, mind, and senses, which was not a simple association, because the person actually took the body, mind, sense complex to be oneself. Then the person disassociated himself or herself from sorrow by knowledge, which does not imply Ashtanga Yoga. In order to remove any confusion here, Krishna first says Tattvana Chalata Chalati, and then redefines the word yoga in one sentence later, in keeping with what he is teaching. Further, in verse number 22 and 23, Bhagwan says the yoga that Bhagwan talks about is more a disassociation than association. Na labdhava chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tatah yasmin siddhato na dukkhena gurunapi vichalayate tam vidya dukkha sanyog viyogam yoga sangitam sanishchena yoktavayo yogo niravina chetsa. This verse, Bhagwan says, and having gained which one does not think there is any other better gain than that, established in which one is not affected even by the greatest sorrow. May one know that disassociation from association with sorrow to be what is called yoga. That yoga should be pursued with clarity of purpose with the mind, that is not discouraged. This is what Swamiji is going to explain in this verse, that Bhagwan says. This we will do tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om Gurubhyo Namaha. Last verse has been full, complete knowledge given by Swamiji. देखो, हमारा स्वामी जी हमको जो पढ़ाते हैं, जो बताते हैं, वो किताब में लिखे हैं और वो सबके लिए अवेलेबल है.